Let's just make everything inclusive in the sense of let's put wheelchair ramps everywhere and let's put automatic doors everywhere. And let's just make sure that regardless of what you look like physically and mentally, that you feel seen and heard. Mm. Yeah, purpose-driven leadership is realizing that what you're doing in the current moment is way greater than you. I think purpose-driven leadership is identifying a deep, meaningful reason of why you do what you do. So it pulls you to do the things that you don't want to do on a day-to-day basis. Everybody, you and I, and everybody listening has not so sexy things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis inside business, inside life. But for example, for me, my big pull was my parents gave me a shot at life. Everybody wanted to take me out. Everybody wanted to abort me, and I'm here. And so, because they've given me life, I want to give them a life like they never had before. And so, when Nick doesn't want to speak, when Nick doesn't want to do interviews, when Nick doesn't want to be happy, Nick, I remember that my parents are not as spoiled as I want them to be, and I still have work to do. So to answer the question is purpose-driven leadership is identifying a purpose greater than yourself that will pull you to do the things that you don't want to do on a day-to-day basis. But also a purpose-driven leader is someone who understands that they are an offering to the world. And when you realize that you're an offering to the world, your mindset now is that I'm going to build myself into the greatest version of myself so I can give it to the world. Because leaders know that if they bless enough people, they can be blessed in any ways they want in life. Yeah, no sleep. No, I'm just kidding. So peak performance habits. What I would say peak performance habits are, and these are things that I can't even believe they're coming out of my mouth because younger Nick would not have these things come out of his mouth, but like tracking my sleep. I didn't realize how powerful sleep was. And I would always used to brag about the bags under my eyes that they were money bags because I was working and I didn't need sleep. But now I take pride in not having bags under my eyes and getting a full rest. So peak performance habits are things like sleep, nutrition. You are what you eat. Most people feel like poop because they eat poop. Um, Moving your body, changing your physiology. I always say if the man with no legs and an arm moves his body more than you, that's your signal, get to moving. So moving your body, nurturing your temple, and then also being very conscious of the content that you consume on a day-to-day basis. And peak performance habit number one really is deflecting most people's limited stories. You're going to share your goals and your ideas and your visions with people, and then they're going to try to cast their thinking on you, and you always have to reject that and say it's not you. So taking care of your temple, always learning, always growing, always evolving. And then I would also say the nerdy stuff was like nutrition, counting macros, tracking your sleep, making sure your cortisol levels are down, getting your blood panels done. I mean, that's like nerdy, geeky stuff. But listen, the bottom line is, for all I know, we get one body, and sometimes your creator misses a few spots and misses a few parts, but we still got to nurture the temple. And so, whatever nurturing the temple is for you, that will be peak performance. Yeah, you know what? This is a great question. I go back to the meaning you attach to it becomes the experience, right? And for example, I moved to UAE. I'll answer this with a story. I moved to UAE, and one of the reasons why I moved to Dubai was because the leadership changed my life. I was at the beach and I needed to use the restroom, and there was three restrooms. I noticed there was a male restroom, there was a female restroom, and then there was a restroom labeled POD. And I didn't know what that meant. And so I went to the worker and I was like, "Sir, which bathroom do I use?" And he's like, "Well, POD, that bathroom's for you." And I was like, "Oh, I have a private bathroom." And he was like, "Well," he's like, "here in UAE in Dubai, we don't use the term disabled or handicapped. We use the term people of determination." And when I heard that, it totally changed my life. And I realized that from the top down leadership, they changed the meaning. And because they changed the meaning, they changed the lives of the civilians. And so, um, you want to redefine disability, use a different word. You want to redefine disability. Don't let it trigger you. Just shift the meaning that you have with it. When if people use the term disabled or handicap, all you could say is God bless you, because you're not as evolved yet, but one day you'll get to the next level, and we'll use a different term. But also some people like the term. So whatever feels right for you. But I think ultimately the root of this question is, let's just make everything inclusive, in the sense of, let's put wheelchair ramps everywhere, and let's put automatic doors everywhere. And let's just make sure that regardless of what you look like physically and mentally, that you feel seen and heard. What I hope audience take away from my speeches is awareness. You see, I always tell people inside the facilitation, I will take you only as deep as you want to go. But also, I'm not here to tell you how to live life. What I learned about the greatest communicators and the greatest leaders is they ask the right questions to lead their people to their own answers. And so all I ask for the audience is to sit there with an open mind, an open heart, and an open soul, but see where the brain goes, and see if I ask you a question that you've never been asked before, that will lead you to an insight that you've never seen before. Because the healing starts with the awareness. Once you see it, you can never unsee it, and you'll never forget it. And so if something's affecting you and now you're aware of it, but you don't take action, now it's not on Nick, it's on you, because Nick already made you aware of it. So what I hope for the audience is awareness, and then most importantly, implementation. Oftentimes we think knowledge is power, but knowledge is actually potential power. The real power comes from implementation of the knowledge that you have. Everybody knows someone who knows a whole lot of knowledge, but they can't find their way out of a paper bag. It's the one who executes and the one who's implements. So what I hope for the audience is a new level of awareness and a new level of implementation, so we can introduce you to a version of yourself that you haven't met yet.